Right. Yeah. So we're recording the session so that it is viewable on YouTube later for anybody who missed it or wants to catch up on anything. That will be there for you. But welcome to the final, which is both wonderful and a little bit sad session of Know Your Coast. This one is Be Inspired and Get Involved. So this has been a series of online events, which some of you will know, that is organized by myself and Gala and Alesha. I'm from NIFA, the Northern Ireland Fishery Harbour Authority, and Gala and Alesha from Ulster Wildlife, as well as all of our lovely guest speakers, all around the themes of environment, biodiversity, and community that are relevant to our coastal communities. So I think this more than ever, this event is for the most part not so much about challenge and more about action. A lot of the other three talks have really been about setting the scene, both about the challenges we have at the coast as well as opportunities we can do to make things better. This one very much what we can really do to make things better conversation. So first of all, so here's what we've been looking at for the past few sessions. Can someone kick off the poll or opening poll, which is just asking you about who you are and what inspired you to be here today? So you can click as many of the poll options as you like, whichever ones are relevant to you. Okay, should we share the results? We've got 80% in there. Right, so lots of us interested in the natural environment, which sits well with a lot of these projects. And very happy to see that a lot of you want to get involved with local environmental projects, because that's also really what this one's about. But this is, yeah, good. Stop sharing results. Okay, fabulous. So we've got, like I said, a wonderful setup agenda for today. First of all, we're going to have introductions from Ulster Wildlife and from, I'm just going to mute somebody, yeah. Introductions from Ulster Wildlife and the Northern Ireland Fishery Harbour Authority. I'm going to talk very briefly about the small grant scheme. Our guest Anna will talk about Protect Our Pristine Seas and Adopt a Spot. Clare about fishing for litter, Alesha, ShoreNI, Callum, shark egg case hunts, and then finally, we'll leave you again with our calls to action of things you can do. So first of all, Ulster Wildlife, Gala.
Hi everyone, so my name is Gala. I'm the Living Seas Officer at Ulster Wildlife. Just going to give you a quick slide introduction to Ulster Wildlife if you haven't heard of it already 3 times during the previous talks. So we are Northern Ireland's largest local nature conservation charity since '78, so we've been here for quite a while. We're proud to be one of the 46 independent wildlife trusts that are working across the UK, and together we have a stronger voice representing the environment than each of us on our own. We're driven and supported by over 14,000 members who, without which we would not be here, because they fund most of that conservation work. And then a little bit about what we do in the next slide, if you could change it, Jenny. Thank you. So we focus on saving species under threat. So these species are usually important for the larger ecosystem that they live in, such as red squirrels that are endangered, or common skates, which are top predators in their ecosystem. So by protecting these, we try to protect a larger portion of nature. We also protect and restore places for wildlife, not focusing on a particular species, but bigger areas. And we run, such as bogs, and we manage 19 nature reserves across Northern Ireland. And we work a lot with people. So we try to bring people closer to nature, which is the case today as well, I guess. So this is a picture from one of our rock pool rambles where we get families out in the rock pools and teach them about what lives there. So we do this with all kinds of animals and all kinds of habitats, so in forests and meadows, different kinds of things. And also we try to influence government policy so they don't forget about the environment when they come up with new legislations and bylaws. So that's a short introduction from me.
Okay. And I'm from the Northern Ireland Fishery Harbour Authority. We are a government body sponsored by DERA, established nearly 50 years ago. But of course, the ports have been around for a very, very long time. Our glass, there's evidence of it as early as the 1100s, and maybe some surprise, but Kilkeel, our biggest harbour, is actually also our newest harbour. It's only around for about 150 years. So the harbour have a few main responsibilities. First of all, we manage and maintain the actual port infrastructure. Secondly, we manage the day-to-day operations of the port, so dealing with the skippers, the fishermen, and all of the activities go around the harbour. And we do also, increasingly see ourselves as being a part of the wider community. So in many ways, this series is part of that too, about saying that we're not just an isolated area in the town, we're actually much more deeply ingrained. In our 3 beautiful harbours, we have approximately 150 fishermen and boats, 150 boats, many more fishermen than that. And we employ in the scale of thousands of people between directly in fishing and various ancillary projects. So first of all, I'm going first. I'm not going to talk for long about this, but to make you aware that Keep Northern Ireland Beautiful have a small grant scheme. They offer grants to organizations or groups of people. You don't necessarily have to be affiliated. Grants of between £500 and £3,000. This opens up in 2 days and it closes on the 10th of May. So if you're someone who's interested in some money for an environmentally focused action project, then the thing to do is attend their information session, which is on the 14th, Wednesday the 14th. They have 2, one at 11 and one at 7 p.m. We will send you the links and the information to that in the follow-up email, but just to make you guys aware. So this brings us very excitingly to our first speaker. This is Anna. Anna, can you unmute yourself and say something so I can pull you up on the screen? Hello. Let's see now. Pin, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen because, right. Can everyone see Anna? Yep. People are nodding. Yep. Brilliant. Great. So Anna is our fabulous speaker who's talking us a bit about beach cleans, which I'm sure you guys have done, specifically what she's done with Protect Our Pristine Seas. And without too much more of an introduction, I think she's going to do it best. Anna, can you tell us a little bit about Protect Our Pristine Seas, a little bit about you, who you are, and also I believe that you were involved in Keep Northern Ireland's Adopt a Spot. Could you tell me a little bit about those things?
Yeah. So my name is Anna Neil and I'm 14 years old. And about 3 years ago now, in 2018, I founded Protect Our Pristine Seas. We're a beach cleaning organisation, and we started out just going out with family and friends, but we reached more people through social media. Adopt a Spot is a programme that allows people to choose to clean a certain part of Northern Ireland at least 4 times a year.
That's brilliant. And I bet you've been a little bit hampered by COVID. But before COVID, were you going out often to go out and do your beach cleans?
We were going out about monthly, once a month.
That's brilliant. And just a little bit more, I guess, about you, because I think it's really, it's hopefully not an insult, but I think people get quite excited when young people have this drive and fire to actually go out and do this. What are your interests, Anna? First of all, what are your sort of favorite subjects at school? And secondly, what about you made you want to go out and clean beaches?
Well, at school, I like computer programming, biology, and English. And Well, my real drive for going out and cleaning beaches was Blue Planet 2, which was aired in 2017. And in the last episode, they touched on the threats facing our marine ecosystem, and that really shocked me and made me want to do something about it.
That was an important moment, I think, for the world. I think they said 14 million people tuned into Blue Planet 2. So it's for people like us who are excited and feel active about these things, it's actually really important that the general public sort of see that picture too. And, you know, we always hope that just like Blue Planet 2, these little moments are really important for inspiring people to go out and do things. So that's really awesome that was, you know, it's great to actually hear that and see that in action. Because I think a lot of us probably felt quite similarly. And so, you know, maybe from Blue Planet 2, did you have a favorite animal, or not necessarily from Blue Planet 2? Is there a particular animal or sea creature that you like?
I really love bottlenose dolphins, or any type of dolphin, and I love jellyfish.
Ah, that's probably kind of unusual, right? But yeah, it's since you see the little innocent clear and purple ones on the shore every so often, it's a bit sad to see them washed up, but sort of they're a little bit fun to poke. And again, all of that is a bit of a learning experience for anyone going out to the shore to actually see and feel those animals. It's nice to have something that's you can really go out and relate to. Okay, so you've done quite a bit of beach cleans. Do you know either how much litter you've collected over all of this time, or how many beach cleans you've been on?
We've done 20 beach cleans and we've collected over 2 tons of litter.
2 tons of litter. Wow. Well, I hope you guys remember that slide before. It's not a surprise when you see that. There's lots and lots of bags. That's absolutely really, really fantastic. And have you found anything particularly interesting on the beach before?
Yeah, we find a lot of clothes. We find shoes. We once found like a cowboy hat. We find a bike and car parts and like just bits like furniture and just other home items, and lots of single-use plastic.
Yeah, the single-use plastics is absolutely the unavoidable ones that we find all the time. But it is something like a cowboy hat. I suppose that does beg some questions, doesn't it? Where on earth did that come from? If it's floated all the way over from America, that would make a good story, wouldn't it? But maybe more likely someone had a big party down at our glass. Okay, so do you find, you know, you were inspired a lot by Blue Planet 2, and you're at school learning about the world and all of its crazy, interesting facets. Do you find that your peers, the other students, are similarly interested in the environment and in getting out and doing things? What do they think about what you do?
Well, most of them, they think it's really cool, and yeah, they're all really interested in protecting the environment. We've been able to get my primary school and my secondary school eco committees involved. Yeah, they're all really enthusiastic about it.
Wow, that's brilliant. What do the eco committee do?
Well, the eco committee, we've entered the young reporters for the environment competitions. We're trying to cut back on single-use plastics in our school. We've got like bottle bins, and we just do lots of stuff related to helping the environment. And we've planted trees up in Balls Park, and a few members went to the school's ocean assembly in Dublin in 2019.
Wow. That's we should have you on here for 10 different sessions for all the things you do, Anna. That's really fantastic, and great that you're it's great to, I think, for people who don't have that insight to what kids are learning now on this sort of subject area. It's really refreshing and positive to hear that, you know, schools and students in schools are actually really being proactive about this, because it's you guys that matter the most. You know, this is your world that's coming at you, and you know how you live and treat it is going to have, you know, it's the most important thing. I'm absolutely delighted to hear that. Okay, so for our audience here, would it be, you know, would it be beneficial for you in your efforts to have more support from people going out to help you?
Definitely, we would love it if more people could come down and get involved with the beach cleans. It'd be a great help.
Okay, good. Everybody take note of that, and you can come join Anna, and hopefully me too, down at Ardglass. You normally go down to Ardglass Beach, don't you? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tidy. Brilliant. And one other one for you. Do you think that, from your opinion, what you've seen, that the marine litter problem is going to get better or worse? Because I know we know there's lots more plastic coming, but then you and your generation and all of us are doing everything we can to try and make things better too. How do you see those things changing in the future?
Yeah, well, I think it's something that it's gonna get worse before it gets better, because I think what will happen is it'll get a lot worse, and then it'll really start to cause problems, and that'll kind of make more people aware, and there'll be more efforts to try and stop the plastic problem.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on with that. I think that's almost why we're having these conversations. People are starting to see it and feel and be shocked by it, and that's the thing that spurs on the action and spurs on change. So I hope that you're right. I hope that that's the journey we're on, and I think that accepting a bit of reality of things getting a bit worse is probably honest, but I think we do have the capacity to make things better. So good. Your opinion really matters on these things, because you do a lot to actually make it happen. Okay, so I've got one final one for you, and that is, well, maybe it's kind of two joint questions. What do you think our audience can do in their everyday lives to make a difference? And if they could take away one main message from you today, what would that be?
Well, I think it's quite easy to make a difference. There's so many things that you can do. You can participate in online events like this one. You can reduce your single-use plastic. You can sort out your recycling, get a food waste bin. You can join in on beach cleans. You can wherever you go, you could bring a litter picker or a bag and just clean a bit of litter picking. If everyone could take one message away today, that'd be that anybody can do it, and it's not hard to make a difference.
That's awesome. I genuinely have goosebumps. I don't know if everybody can see that. You can't see that. So I think that's really, really a fantastic message. And that means, I mean, that's absolutely relevant to everyone sitting here, that we really all can make a difference. And that's something that should empower us all to actually go out and do something, and not, I think sometimes it can be easy to feel like these problems are too big and feel bogged down by them, like we can't actually do anything. But if we all thought like that, nothing would change. But if we all thought a little bit different, the whole world could be a whole lot better, couldn't it? So really, really fantastic. Really, really great to talk to you, Anna. I'm really delighted to hear about everything you're up to. And someone just said in the chat that you're an inspiration. You're inspirational, and I absolutely cannot second that enough. So thank you very much. Yes?
Just before Anna leaves, I just wanted to say, so as a marine biologist myself, if only I was brave enough to do what you're doing at your age. At your age, I was just dreaming about making a difference one day, but I didn't know that I didn't think that I could, make it already. So thank you so much. You're very inspirational, Anna.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Anna, thank you. I should have said at the start, actually, if anyone has any questions for any of our speakers, could you put them in the chat as we go? And then we're going to do a big question and answer session for everyone at the end. So if you guys have any questions for Anna, please put them in now. Claire is up next. So if you have any questions for her, then please do pop them in there. Anna, thank you so much for that. We will maybe bring you back in for some Q&A from others later. And I'm going to bring up Claire now. So can everyone see Claire? Nod your head.
Thanks, Jenny. If I'm talking, will I come up on their screens?
I hope so. Can someone nod? Gala, can you see Claire? Yep, perfect. Yeah, so Claire, this is also sticking with the theme of marine litter. Claire is from the Seafood Cornwall training. And so down in the southwest of England, she is the Fishing for Litter coordinator down there and does some fantastic work with the fishermen down in Cornwall. So we in Northern Ireland are going to be relaunching Fishing for Litter in May. So this is a little bit of a taste of what our, my work and our harbours are going to be in about a month's time. So Claire, I'm going to Start your presentation. If you just let me know when you want to click.
Yeah, I'll keep talking and you'll keep up, I'm sure.
That is the plan. All right.
So as Jenny said, I work in, actually have an office. We're based in Newlyn, which is a fishing port next to Penzance, almost at the very end of the southwest, as well as training fishermen and doing the training schemes. We also run projects that are of benefit to the fishing industry that we host. So we host the Fishing for Litter project across the southwest. So on the next screen, we're talking about marine litter. That's what we've been talking about today. And why is it a problem? And so one of the things that was investigated over the last 20 or 30 years was the problem of litter coming up with fish. So when the fishermen are fishing, and you'll see there that a study was done at the fishing in Scotland, and it cost the fleet around £6 million a year, mostly in their lost fishing time, because if they have damage to their nets or their catch is contaminated or they have to repair gear or there's paint or oil, or there's some waste that they have to bring in, then they lose a lot of fishing time. And there are other marine problems as well. And so a project was thought up. So on the next slide, we just said, why as we've started a project, what does that mean? And what's the aim of it? So the aim is that we would remove the rubbish. So that I really think that message from Anna there was really good. Make a start. Even though the fishing boats can't move everything, they can move the bit that they find and not put it back, and don't leave it there. They're only going to fish it again next time they go that way. So best to bring it in. So this project is about helping them bring that in. But the other thing about why you have something called Fishing for Litter and it's got a brand is that it raises awareness. So it raises awareness within the industry that waste can be managed and that you can do a really good job and do a good thing. And in the long term, as long as there is less litter, you'd have less costs. The Scottish study reckoned that cost per boat across Scotland was going to be £10,000 a year. And I get similar figures in the southwest from boats that are fishing litter all the time. On the next slide, I just talk about how we practically operate the project. So we get these large bags. They can lift them on and off the boat using their davits as they would with their catch. And the important point that I need to tell you is that they don't go out specifically to target litter. They're fishing their normal fishing. The litter is incidental and they find it with their catch. And obviously that's the bit they don't want. And to make it easy for fishermen so that there's no barrier to them, they just have to leave the bag on the quayside or leave it where the harbour asks them to put it. I know Jenny will be busy sorting that out with her harbour masters and her staff and the boats in Northern Ireland and her ports. And then we pay for a waste company to take the waste away, and they have to work with either the incinerators or landfill to work out what's the best, how could that be safely disposed of, because there are lots of rules to do with the waste. On the next slide, I just give you a little bit of information there. So you can see southwest of England there, that's just Devon and Cornwall. And we've got a spread of ports, 7 in Cornwall and 6 in Devon. And they wanted to join. It's really good that they want to join. They're really keen to be involved. And I just made a note there to say that one of the ways that we engage with fishermen is through their associations. So South Devon and Channel Shell Fishermen's Association, they are using crab pots to catch crabs. So they don't catch quite as much litter because they're not towing their nets along the bottom. They put their pots in and they sit there. But what happens sometimes is plastic can get wrapped around the ropes between the pots. And then they'll have to pull that plastic in, or they might be steaming towards their pots and they come across litter. So we ask them to be involved. That association's been really active. They set up a hashtag, We Fish for Litter. So if you want to look at them, they're on Instagram and they share that hashtag all the time, We Fish for Litter. So on the next slide, I just want to say perhaps what we've achieved. So we've been going for just over 10 years. By 2015, we had 160 vessels signed up, and we keep it like that. Some people don't sign up. Some fishermen are like, oh, I've been doing that for years. I don't need to sign your piece of paper. And we just give them a bag if they need it and say, thanks very much. It's brilliant you're involved. And don't forget, you can use our bins and skips. And to date, we've measured 200 tonnes of litter that has been sent to landfill. We think there's more than that, but that's what we've measured as waste that's been collected and gone out to the sea. I've just got a couple of photos on the next two slides. It's just quite tricky because most of us don't go to sea on boats. So I thought perhaps we'll put a couple of slides in here. It's actually from a video we did. So you can see the fishermen there, they're underneath the shelter deck on the vessel. They've hauled the catch and they put it in their pounds or onto the conveyor belt, and they stand under the shelter deck in the lights there, and they're sorting out the catch. And you can see some baskets there. So each species goes into a different basket. And then you can see our fishing for litter bag. So if there is any litter in amongst the catch, they can put that straight in the bag. It's tied, it's not going to fall about the place. If it's messy or dirty litter, or if it's sort of falling apart, it's not going to contaminate things. It's all tidied away in the corner, making it easy for them. And then here's a slide, and you can actually see loads of different kinds of fish, some weed. You can see a metal can there. And on the left, it's not as easy to see, but you can see a trainer. So I noticed Anna said she sees shoes and trainers. Unfortunately, we're near the shipping lanes and some containers have been lost. And there's a few places where they're fishing now and they catch trainers. One of the fishermen told me recently, it's all left feet, which I thought was very funny, but really horrible as well. But they are now spread a little bit further up the channel. So they're just slowly moving up the channel. I'm not sure which container it was from, which ship, but yeah, we do see those quite often. So in the next slide, just to say, you know, we're just trying to make it easy for fishermen. They land it and it's eat, and then they're done with it. They don't need to worry about it anymore. So while I'm on the story about odd things they found at sea, and Anna said she found some funny things as well. On the next page, one thing they find is Lego. So unfortunately, a ship lost 62 containers. It was in 1997. It was the Tokyo Express. And the Lego lost at sea are actually a community of beach cleaners. They started a social media page. They had about 40,000 followers on Facebook. And Lego had to get involved for a little time, but now I notice they say we're not endorsed by Lego. So that's interesting. We do, as well as trainers, we also see quite a lot of military hardware. I don't see all that because some of it's metal. It's interesting to go on the next page while we're talking about what comes up. This is just to show you when we do an analysis of the litter, because we do a report for DEFRA, and most of it's plastic or polystyrene. We ask them not to put metal and wood in our skips and bags because that could be recycled or reused. There's also textiles, rubber. We see dashboards, tyres. Tyres have to go separately for waste. It's one of our management issues. So I'm just going to rattle on to the next slide. One of the things we do all the time is, it's a challenge. It's not a challenge. It's always really great to keep engaged with fishermen and hear their stories, make sure they've got bags, and they do appreciate us speaking to them and keeping it fresh that it's being used, and they very much appreciate that it's good PR for the industry, that they're doing a job of stewardship, of looking after the marine environment. And in future, we'd like to look forward to doing a little bit more gear recycling. which helps the industry, which isn't litter, but it helps awareness raising and waste management. And then finally, just to say that this is a board we put up in the harbours where we're fishing for litter. The logo's known internationally, so we think that hopefully that means that foreign boats landing will see it and use it as well. And I know it'll be great to see Jenny starting again and relaunching in Northern Ireland. And I think just listening to you speaking now, one of the options for volunteers was that I've had some help from volunteers over the years where they might go and do this kind of talk, but in a school or at an event, a community events or fish festivals and similar. So there are options to get involved if people are interested. Thanks, Jenny.
I was unmuted. Claire, that is absolutely brilliant and so exciting to see your project unfolding, especially for me, because I'm sort of on the verge of jumping off this fishing for litter cliff myself. And you know, it's really inspiring and makes me feel like I've got a little bit of confidence to know that there really is so much that can be done. And it's, you know, the fishing community, a lot of the fishermen I've spoken to are really excited, and maybe not excited is probably the right word, but they say, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It's annoying. We don't like catching fishing litter in our nets, and I think that doesn't
exactly.
usually get it doesn't really get to be, you know, I wouldn't have seen that unless I was working in the ports, and you know, same for you there.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Jump in, the water's warm.
yeah, it's good. So yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Claire. Again, if anyone has any questions for Claire, could you please put them in the chat and we will get them at the end. So that is going to lead us to our next speaker, Alesha. There we are, Alesha. So Alesha is going to tell us about ShoreNI and how we can all become citizen scientists at our coast, wherever we may be. So over to you, Alesha.
Just give me a second to do that. So I'm Alesha. I'm a Queen student placement at Ulster Wildlife, and I am just going to take you through a short introduction to ShoreNI, which is Ulster Wildlife's volunteer intertidal survey project, which is a very long title, but so what is ShoreNI? ShoreNI is a citizen science intertidal shore survey project, which is run by Ulster Wildlife. The project relies mostly on volunteers to go out to the shore and take pictures of whatever species that they see. And this helps to show the distribution of the species that are on our shores and what species that they are. It's important because there are large gaps in our knowledge of the distribution of many of our marine organisms, and it's unclear whether some of these species are actually rare or are they just under-recorded, which is where ShoreNI comes in. The project aims to build a stronger picture of the wildlife and habitats that are found on our coast. With our coasts becoming threatened with pollution, climate change, and the negative effects of invasive species, it's important to keep an eye on our marine species. ShoreNI can help to monitor and map the effects these threats are having on our native species and can help to detect new invasive species and to track the movement of climate indicators. So climate indicators are species that are shifting their ranges and where they can be found in response to changing and increasing temperatures. And this is often seen in the form of species moving northwards, and invasive species are they're an introduced organism or species that negatively affects the new environment or the native species that are found there. And the data from this project is shared with CEDAR, which is the Centre for Environmental Data and Recording, and DERA, which is the Department for Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs. And this information can be used to help inform conservation and management decisions. And ShoreNI uses iNaturalist to record all the species that are observed. So iNaturalist, iNaturalist is a platform that allows you to share and discuss your findings with other users and helps to ID species that you may not know. iNaturalist can be accessed on desktop or the app on your phone, which makes it easy and accessible. ShoreNI has its own project page on iNaturalist for members, where you can record and upload images of species that you find on the shore. iNaturalist will share the species records with scientific data bodies like the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, GBIF, the Centre for Environmental Data and Recording, CEDAR, and NBN Atlas, the National Biodiversity Network. The free ShoreNI training goes through how to use iNaturalist and how to join. So ShoreNI was made public last autumn and has since grown in popularity. So the progress so far is 96 members, 3,684 records, and 423 species that have been recorded so far. So why join ShoreNI? So ShoreNI allows you to directly contribute to nature conservation. The data and species records that you collect will help to inform policymakers and will ultimately lead to better conservation for our marine wildlife. The data may also highlight potential new sites for species and habitats of conservation importance. It helps to develop your coastal marine wildlife ID skills, which means that beginners can also join as the training takes you through how to get started. Ulster Wildlife staff will also be available to help with further training, identification, and advice. There is a ShoreNI WhatsApp group for members, which allows you to chat with staff and other recorders, which leads you on to the third point, which is you can meet new people and become part of a community of local marine recorders. Ulster Wildlife will, hopefully, in the future, organise social events where survey volunteers can meet up for like large intertidal surveys. Rocky shores are one of the few unmanaged habitats left that are in a natural state, which means that there's still new things to be discovered, like new species or species behaviours, and it is fun. So how to join? To join ShoreNI, all you need to do is book a free online training session, which can be done through the Ulster Wildlife events page. The training covers all of the essential points to get started with the project, including why recording is so important, species identification, survey safety, and how to use the iNaturalist recording app. So it's just a brief introduction, but yeah.
That's absolutely brilliant, Alesha. And I think that's another way to think that anyone can do it, actually. That is something that anybody who lives on the coast can say, let's add a little bit more meaning to my coastal walk and contribute to something that's much bigger and very important for our understanding of our local plants and animals at the sea. So that's really good to at least have that all on our radar. And we've got, I guess people can talk to you and Gala if they have any questions about that. But the, I've seen the site and done the training, and it's really good. You get to have a little whirlwind of what you're sort of meant to be doing, and yeah, it just opens up your mind to the possibilities of peeking around rock pools, which I think is actually, you're right, absolutely good, very good fun. So last but not least, we have Callum. So Callum, if you want to reveal yourself. Callum is going to, be talking to us about egg case surveys, egg case hunts.
Yeah, sure.
So that's you there.
Yep.
So yeah, over to you.
Okay, so hello, my name's Callum, and I am similar to Alesha, I'm a student placement at Ulster Wildlife, but I'm working on the CDEEP project. So basically what I'm going to go over this morning is a bit about what CDEEP is, focusing mainly on the egg case hunts that we do, and then what I've been doing with them, and then obviously how you can get involved yourselves, being the big part. So firstly, a bit of background to what CDEEP actually is. So it's a shark conservation project that's led by Ulster Wildlife, and we include both the local sea anglers as well as in the general public, basically to safeguard our future shark species and skate species in our oceans. So one side of it is the tag data and tagging the sharks, and this is done by our local sea anglers. And we, what was I going to say, sorry. So they'll go out and they'll tag the sharks, and this will give us an estimate population size, as well as a present size of them as well. And then the other side is the egg case surveys, which I'm going to talk about today. So around our waters, we have about 20 species of elasmobranchs. And whenever I say elasmobranchs, I mean shark and skate species. And these are residential to us, with many more using our waters for migration pathways, such as the basking shark. Now, of these, 10 species of skate and then 3 species of shark lay egg cases. So we call these oviparous species. And whenever they lay their egg cases in the water and the wee pups hatch out of them, the waves or the tide can then wash the egg cases up onto the shore. And the CD team will then go out and survey different shores around Northern Ireland. And this will help to determine both the presence and distribution of the species, which is very, very important because our waters actually contain important breeding grounds and nurseries for some species, such as the spotted ray or the small spotted cat shark, as you can see. So currently to date, updated, this isn't the updated one. The updated one, we have about 1,800 records, or just slightly over, that we've collected, and we'll compile this data and try and identify trends. So as I was saying about the presence and the distribution of particular species, as well as then trying to estimate where different breeding grounds would possibly be. So there's the cat shark ray, or the cat shark, sorry, and the spotted ray are our 2 most common species, and would find the cat shark actually pretty much on all shores. And then going to the rare side of things, we have the undulate ray and the small-eyed ray, as well as in the flapper skate, which we only have 1 record for. And this is actually a critically endangered species. As well as this then, a lot of our shark species and skate species are listed on the IUCN Red List. So this basically gives like each species a different category to how endangered they are. And a lot of them would be considered vulnerable to critically endangered, as I was saying about the flapper skate. So it's important that we actually act on this and help to aid in their conservation. So how do we do this? So we can do this by marine protected areas, which are basically areas of sea that protect the species from certain marine activities that might harm them, and aids in their conservation of getting the numbers back up to hopefully where they were. And then we take the egg case data and the tag data and combine it, and this gives us an estimate, or it'll help us to, sorry, I've got no battery on, that's okay. It'll give us an estimate or help us to protect these areas, with hopefully results similar of what happened off Skye in Scotland, where a recent dive actually found over 100 flapper skate egg cases. And that area is now a marine protected area, as it's regarded as a breeding or nursery ground. So a bit of what I've been doing. So as I was saying about the compiled data, I take this then, and I've been using a program known as QGIS, which has allowed me to create heat maps and point maps of the data per species. Now, they basically both do the exact same thing, but it gives you a quick overall representation of where the data actually is. And then from this, it allows us to identify both trends and knowledge gaps as well. So some of the trends we'd be looking for would be seasonal. So does the data change at different times of the year? Are there more egg cases at certain times of the year than other times of the year? As well as then presence, is there data found in one area but not in the other? And then this would lead to the knowledge gap. So if there is no data found in one area, then why actually is this? And from the trends, then we can propose recommendations. So a lot of the recommendations that we do propose would be further surveying or intensified surveying in particular areas, just to basically make sure that it's not an error or limited data on our part. But sometimes as well, then if we find a hotspot, we work alongside a local dive group known as Sea Search, who would then go out and collect in situ or basically hard evidence that there is breeding grounds there, and then we can take this and hopefully use it to get some marine protected areas. So as I've been mapping the data, I've noticed some interesting trends, which I'm going to show you here. So the biggest one, and the one that jumps out the first, is the massive orange dot around the north coast, in particular Port Ballantrae. This goes along the Castle Rock, Benome Beach, and Downhill Strand as well. And this is because there's a massive hotspot for basically all of our species in the north coast. We find the majority of our egg cases here. One in particular, our most common found skate that we find is the spotted ray, as I was saying. And I think we found to date just over 750 of them, with about 650 of them being found in the north coast. So it's a massive hotspot. One animal that doesn't actually follow this trend is the small spotted cat shark, which appears to have its hotspots in the outer Belfast Loch, so in particular Groomsport, and then going down the Ards Peninsula as well. So like the likes of like Ballyhalbert, Ballywalter. And recent surveys actually we found upwards of about 30 egg cases. Going back then to the north coast, the rare egg cases we also would find up here, such as the undulate ray and the flapper skate. And at the minute, because we have such limited records, these are actually exclusively only found up there. We haven't found them anywhere else. Another thing that jumps out is actually, you can see I've circled the Antrim coasting glens, or the east coast. and it's got very, very limited data there. Or there's data absence, and this is basically for all species. Apart from a few small dots, which, as I was saying, are the small spotted cat shark, could find those basically on all coasts. So I've proposed further recommendations, as I was saying, for future surveying once COVID lifts a bit more, or intensified surveying up there, basically just because it could possibly be a lack of effort. There might be a bias for us to go and survey different areas such as the North Coast or Grimsport, because we know we're going to get egg cases. However, it could possibly be a human disturbance as well. So there's a salmon fishery actually that runs up there. I believe it's from Glenarm to Red Bay, about 16 miles long. So it could possibly be the way they're farming the salmon. It could be damaging the environment and basically making it unusable for a breeding ground. Another one that I actually haven't included, but it goes off the back of the spotted ray actually, is because the spotted ray we found, as I was saying, upwards of about 750 egg cases, but we've got no tag data for it. Again, this could be something simple as it doesn't like the bait that the anglers are using, so it can't catch it. Or if you're referring to the literature, it's a deep water species, so it might not be fishing deep enough. However, it could be something biological as well that we might need to look into, where it's actually a prey item of the critically endangered flapper skate. And so basically, if we're catching flapper skates, then it might not be coming out at the same time as to not get eaten. But as I was saying, these are just trends that I've noticed. And what backs up trends is actually the data collection and the amount of data. The more data you have behind it, the stronger a trend will be. So that's where you can get involved. And different ways you can get involved in the CD project, they do range. But one of the main ones we do are public events or public beach surveys. So we'll organise these around different beaches around Northern Ireland, and they provide members of the public with a great opportunity to become citizen scientists. So another kind of like what Alesha was saying as well. So we'll basically teach you about the local skate and shark species, give you a bit of an overview to it, as well as on how to ID the egg cases that you might find on the beach, and then basically how to correctly survey the beach as well. So the best areas to search and the best chance of finding egg cases. Whereas then what you'll give us is you'll give us then more data for the CD project, as well as then hopefully piquing your interests in it as well. So we did have a few surveys lined up for the end of this month in Castle Rock, Grimsport and Port Ballantrae, but they've been moved, unfortunately. However, with COVID restrictions easing a bit more and the weather getting hopefully a bit better, we'll have plenty more over the summer. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to get involved. Another thing we actually did as well before COVID was we went into schools and basically carried out these same talks to the kids. I think it's very, very important that younger generations know as well about certain things, about the conservation, and we do the exact same thing with them, where we then help them to identify the egg cases as well, and basically then give them a bit of an overview as to future conservation plans that we had and how they were helping those. This was also always followed by a beach survey. So I think it's very, very important for kids to be hands-on with their learning as well, and then hopefully pique their interest as well, and allow them to continue on with friends and family. And as well, we've also created a virtual learning pack for schools to use whenever the CD project concludes. And it'll basically, it's important to continue this education to the younger generation long after the CD project ends. So if you know any schools that might be interested in this, then please do get in touch with us. And then finally, now with COVID obviously restricting quite a lot of things, the best way you can get involved at the minute is by carrying out solo beach surveys. So it sounds a bit daunting, but this can literally just be walking on the beach and having a wee look in the seaweed. The CD website has tons of material that you can use, such as the Shark Egg Case ID guide that'll help you to identify pretty much any egg case you're going to find. It also has extremely helpful videos of how to survey the beach, where to survey the beach, and get the most out of your surveys. And as well, it also has a few links to different websites to check the tide times. So it's ideal to go 2 hours either side of low tide, as the beach will be pretty much completely exposed, and you'll have the best opportunity to find egg cases, unlike what I did one of the times where I went at high tide and there was no beach, so I found no egg cases. But as well as that, we're also available to contact by email or social media, Twitter, Instagram, if you have any queries or any worries, or just need help setting up your own survey. And then as well, at the minute on the website, I think we have an egg case egg hunt game. I believe we had it for Easter, but it's still up there. And we basically assign different points or points tallies to the rarity of egg cases. So it's a great way for getting their family involved or friends, and making the egg case hunt a wee bit more competitive. So thank you for listening, and that's all I have to say on that. Oh, and last thing to add, probably most important thing, is make sure you submit your findings to the CD website, because if you don't submit them, and you just take nice pictures with them, we can't really use them, and they won't be used in the conservation. So make sure you do that. But it's very self-explanatory on the website. That's us.
It's brilliant. Thank you so much, Callum. That's super, super interesting. It's one of those things that I think you can see. Actually, I guess can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Quickly, and just curious if we can see each other as to if most people have ever seen or knew that they saw a shark or egg case before in the past. I think, can you guys all see each other, or can you see just?
Yeah, I think we can see each other.
So everyone gives a thumbs up if you've ever seen a shark egg case on the beach that you know of.
Oh, quite a few people. That's lovely.
So I only saw them for the first time up on the north coast. And once you start seeing them, you sort of see them all over the place, but you wouldn't, I just happened to be with someone who knew what they were, and otherwise you wouldn't really think to see them. So if anyone wants to put their questions in the chat for anyone, please do now. I've actually got a question for each of you. So maybe, as there's not any in the chat at the moment, shall I kick off with a quick question for each of you? And then, yes, mermaids' purses. That's what they got. That's, yeah, I was thinking ladies' purses, and that was correct. Yes, mermaids' purses, that's it. Right, so I've got a question for each of you. I'll say all of them to you, and then maybe you can answer them in order of which you presented. So Anna, my question for you is, what are your plans for the future? What's next for you? Claire, my question for you is, does fishing for litter take place in other parts of the world? Alesha, my question for you is, can you do ShoreNI at any type of coast? Can you do it at a beach? Can you do it, is it just rock pools, or are there certain areas of Northern Ireland that that we want more data from? And Callum, my question for you is, how do the egg cases end up on the beach? Where is it that the eggs are laid, and do they float in there? Are they actually laid on the coastline? So you guys can all think about your questions. I think, Anna, if you want to start, you're our first speaker, if you want to unmute yourself and let us know what your plans for the future are.
Well, we hope to start beach cleans in the next few months, summertime at the latest. And we also plan to expand our social media, and hopefully do more webinars like this.
Brilliant. And what about you personally? What are your longer term goals for your life?
Well, I want to study natural sciences or marine biology somewhere at university, and I'm also interested in the film industry as well. So I've been doing a bit of that lately, and I've been doing scuba diving as well, and I definitely want to continue that.
Awesome. Cool. Well, there are lots of possibilities there, lots of opening doors for you. So that's brilliant. Claire, where else in the world is there a fishing litter, if there is?
Well, unfortunately, given what we know about litter and the stories on the Blue Planet, I'm sure that fishermen find litter in their nets all over the world. That's probably a shocking but true. And probably are just as dismayed as our fishermen when they find it. Fishing for litter as a project, a style of project, and the way we operate, there are projects all throughout Europe, so Croatia, the Mediterranean, all around the Baltic and Norway. So it's very widespread throughout Europe, and Chemo, who head it up in the UK, also operate internationally. And I have seen on social media and seen pieces about other projects in America and California, but we're not linked to them as a brand, but I'm sure that people do. That help?
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Yeah, I know that there's quite a few different fishing companies around Europe that do it. We're only starting to sort of communicate with each other, which is quite interesting. Alesha, can you answer your question?
Yeah, probably should have clarified this more in the presentation. ShoreNI is, you can do it on any coast, but it is primarily rocky shores, rock pools, rocky shores, because most of the fun species are found in there rather than the sandy beaches.
Brilliant.
To
Thank you.
sandy beaches, I was just going to add, so sandy beaches require quite a lot of equipment to survey, and you need a bit of knowledge how to survey them without damaging the environment. So we just stick with rocky shores for now. As Alesha says, it's more fun as well.
Thanks. Callum, so you had a question about where they come from, but there's also another question in the chat here that says, do you put the egg cases back in the sea once you document them? Will they survive, or are they dead once they wash up? So you can answer that one as well, please.
So I'll answer the one in the chat first, because then I'll show you something as well. So when we can basically take them. So if the best way to imagine an egg case is like a chicken egg. Basically, all we're collecting is the shell on the outside. So once it's hatched, it's only the shell of the thing. So we can take them with us. We can leave them there. It doesn't really matter. They're not alive. So the shark pups away, I'm sure, happily swimming in the ocean somewhere. But the egg cases are fine, because I've actually got a few egg cases here that I can show you. I can tell you where they're laid. So this one here is if you can see that, I'm not too sure. This is a small spotted cat shark one. And so I think your question there was, are they laid in the water or are they laid in the shore? So they're laid in the water. And then the tide, so once they're empty, the tide will be able to just wash them up because they're quite light. But they're laid in like different locations. So our cat shark ones are, well, for the small spotted cat shark and then the bullhuss as well. You can see there's like long string-like things. They're known as tendrils, and they'll wrap around the seaweed. And they'll be laid there until the shark pup hatches. So basically protected from wave action. And then the other one that would find would be the skates. So this here is a spotted ray egg case, and this is like, it's similar looking to basically all the skate egg cases we'd find, and they'd be laid at the bottom, so they'd be anchored into the sand, and this would basically stop them. And I believe they're covered in a mucus as well that would like attract like wee bits of shell that would basically then keep them firmly on the ground. But then obviously once the skate pups hatch, they're going to have a lot less weight on them, and so they'll very, very easily sweep up. That's why you'd find quite a lot of small spotted cat shark egg cases, especially after a storm, because they're tied around the seaweed, and the storms will bring up a lot of seaweed onto the land. So actually, the best time to survey would probably be after a storm. You'd find the most, or your best chance to find one would be after the storm.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. No, that's super interesting. Thank you guys, all of you, so much. I'm just going to share my screen so we can wrap up, because time is going away. So yes, our brilliant speakers that we had. Gala, I'm going to hand this over to you to tell us about our calls to action. No.
Yeah, so after every talk, as part of this Know Your Coast series, we had a little call to action. So this time we have a few related to the talks that we saw, of course. So one is join ShoreNI or Sea Deep surveys. As we mentioned through the presentations, both Callum and Alesha said, you can do it, while you're walking on the shore. You can even do some of that while you're picking litter. Now we have tried this, and it is a bit tricky because your eye either looks for litter, which is much more colorful than egg cases or natural things that are meant and adapted to look brown and boring, because that they have to camouflage, they have to hide from predators. So if you are to do that, you can go on the beach one way, do the litter, and then on the way back, you can look for species while you're there. So you can incorporate those surveys any way you want, and the training we provide for it is free. So we will be organizing, depending on what COVID allows us to do, a few egg case surveys and ShoreNI surveys in the 3 harbour areas, and the 3 harbour fishing towns, and there are also plenty more of events on our website. We will send an email with all these call to actions and links, but if you can still get in touch replying to that email if you have any specific questions. Another thing we can do as a call to action this week is really follow, websites and social media from ANA, Protect Our Pristine Seas, Ulster Wildlife, our 2 projects, and of course, Northern Ireland Fishery Harbour Authority websites and YouTube. So it's good to just be in touch and see what all possibilities there are. And we have 2 more call to actions. Yes, you can join Anna in Ardglass or Jenny and me around the Kilkeel, Ardglass and Portavogie for beach cleans. We will let you know when the pandemic allows us to organize for some. And lastly, don't forget to just challenge yourself. There's so many things you can do. And I think Anna really explained that very well, that you can make a difference, even just yourself, by swapping, the classic example, your plastic bottle with the reusable one. You can go do a beach clean. You can help get a few records for us. There's so many things you can do. And across these series, we've had more information about how to choose local products to help our economy and reduce your carbon footprint. So there's lots of things you can do, apologies, as an individual. So that's kind of our main message today, and we will send all this out in follow-up email. But just before we're done, we've got a quick poll, if you guys would bear with us. I will launch the poll now. Hopefully everybody can see it. And I see there's one more question in the chat, sorry.
I can't see the chat, so do you want to ask? Is it for someone to ask?
Yeah, I'm just going to give them a few seconds to do the poll. But the question was by James Hunter: are lighting fires on sandy beaches harmful to species? Depends how they're lit. I suppose if you light them directly, just directly on the sand, with wood on the sand, technically they are. They do heat up the environment. I mean, species underneath can just borrow themselves out of the way, but it's not the best. So I think I don't really do it myself, so I wouldn't know what to advise in terms of how to do it best. But if you were to use something underneath that will reduce the amount of heat going to the sand, that would be preferable. Because the sand has lots and lots of life, even though it looks like it doesn't. Okay, so most of you guys have done the poll. Thank you. I'll just share the results. So 68% of people said they learned a lot today, which is really nice. And the session today has inspired 84% of you guys to change something in your everyday life. Hopefully join one of us in our surveys or beach cleans. And you all seem to like the session today, so thanks very much.
That means a lot.
That means a lot to us, guys.
Yeah.
So we will be sending out this email with all this information, but if you have any questions that we haven't covered, do come back to us. And thanks for joining us, especially if you've joined us for all 4 sessions and bared with me and Jenny.